The Velvet is a significant departure from the LG design language we're used to. It has a sleek, tall, curved form factor, and a dazzling gradient finish. Ours is in the Illusion Sunset color, and it's more like an explosion of different colors depending on the angle of the light. The whole thing is quite mirror-like, though any touch on the surface will leave you with smudges and fingerprints. One of the unique design features is LG's raindrop camera scheme, where the cameras are arranged from large to small to be more aesthetically pleasing. The back panel is made from Gorilla Glass, which curves into the glossy aluminum frame. The device feels quite light and thin in the hand, though it should still be quite durable. It's received a military standard 810G certification. There's also full IP68 waterproofing here, so you don't have to worry about water or dust getting in and damaging the phone. The Velvet's gently curved OLED display is 6.8 inches with a 1080p resolution, a standard refresh rate, and a tall 20.5:9 aspect ratio. It looks nice, though the U-shaped notch at the top for the selfie cam might be an eyesore for some people. The panel has good sharpness, as well as deep blacks you'd expect from an AMOLED. Max brightness isn't chart-topping, but it's decent, around 400 nits with a manual slider, and a little over 600 nits in auto mode when in the bright sun. Colors can be tweaked in settings, but none of the presets are too accurate to a specific color space. It's not too bad, but your whites are a bit on the bluish side. There's an optical fingerprint sensor under the display, and it does a pretty good job at recognizing you and unlocking the phone. It wasn't the most accurate for us in the beginning, but it seems to improve over time the more you use it. And there's an always-on display, which will show you the time and notifications. It's highly customizable, with lots of different clock styles and colors to choose from. The LG Velvet has a stereo speaker setup, with one bottom-firing speaker and the earpiece acting as the second one. These scored very good in our loudness test, and quality is nice, with lively vocals and well-defined highs. There's not as much as far as bass goes, though.
Wide awake, but you're a nightmare. I can't escape, I'm seeing you everywhere.
You get a 3.5mm headphone jack, and some decent-looking earbuds come in the box. However, one feature missing on the LG Velvet is a quad DAC, which you could find on some previous LG phones. There's 128 gigs of storage on board, which should be plenty, and if not, it is expandable through microSD. In some markets, pre-orders of the LG Velvet will get you a bunch of extras, including a silicone case, wireless headphones, and LG's dual screen accessory. It gives you an extra screen that's pretty much the same as the main one for use in multitasking. The increase in functionality is balanced by the fact that it's bulky and hides the phone's nice design, and it increases battery consumption too, but it still adds a lot of value to the package if you can get it for free. You can use apps side by side, open new browser tabs on the other screen, watch videos while you text, or even use one of the displays as a full-screen keyboard, or a full-screen gamepad for supported games. The LG Velvet runs LG's User Experience version 9 over Android 10. The interface is clean and simple, with no complicated menus or custom settings. You have the option for an app drawer, or you can choose to keep all of your apps on the home screen. One neat touch is the green toggles in the notification shade. This is the default, but changing the phone's theme will let you customize the color. LG has its own gallery app with cloud support for services like Google Drive, Dropbox, and more. And there's an HD audio recorder which has plenty of features. At the heart of the LG Velvet is a Snapdragon 765G chipset. It's one of the most powerful mid-range chips available right now, and it supports connectivity to 5G networks. Performance is great for a mid-ranger, and we didn't see any thermal throttling in our testing. Graphics performance is understandably less than a true flagship though, and that's worth taking into consideration. For this price, you can get a phone with a Snapdragon 855 Plus, or even an 865. The LG Velvet has a 4300 mAh battery, pretty typical for a modern phone, and battery life is decent but nothing outstanding. The phone scored an endurance rating of 79 hours in our proprietary battery tests. There's support for 25-watt charging, but the Velvet comes with a 16-watt charger in the box. With it, the charging speed isn't fast. We were able to go from 0 to 33% in half an hour. We tried some higher capacity chargers too, with not much improvement. There is support for wireless charging, which maxes out at around 9 or 10 watts. It works with a dual screen accessory attached too. If you need to charge the phone with a cable while it's in the dual screen case, you should use the provided magnetic adapter. The LG Velvet has a triple camera setup, rather than the 4 cameras we see on most phones these days. There's a 48 megapixel quad bare main cam, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide-angle cam, and a 5-megapixel depth sensor. 12-megapixel photos taken with the main cam are overall quite pleasing. Colors are nice and punchy, and there's plenty of contrast. Detail is good too, though some noise is visible if you look closely. You can opt to shoot in the 48-megapixel mode, which will give you some extra detail if you have enough light. It comes at the expense of a decrease in dynamic range and color saturation, as well as a larger file size. Portraits are taken with the main cam and the depth sensor, and these are decent, but not the best we've seen. As long as the backgrounds aren't too complex, you get good subject separation, but you do see some hazy outlines from time to time. LG didn't fit a telephoto camera on the Velvet, but there is a 2x toggle in the viewfinder. It's just a crop and upscale from the main cam's 12-megapixel photos. These aren't half bad, but you do get more noise and some over-sharpening compared to regular shots. 8-megapixel photos from the ultra-wide-angle cam are okay too. You get good dynamic range and likable colors, but the photos are quite soft overall, and you can see some noise and color fringing. In low light, photos from the main camera are detailed, but on the darker side, and they're a bit noisy. Color reproduction is good though, and dynamic range is fairly wide if the auto HDR kicks in. Night mode is a bit tricky. You can always go into the night view mode, but the phone will decide if the light level is low enough to warrant the extra processing. Even when it does engage, it isn't a night and day difference, no pun intended. There is improvement in the noise and extra sharpening, but you don't see much more detail in the shadows. The ultra-wide cam's low-light shots are soft and lacking in detail, and colors look washed out too. You can enable night view mode here, but we're not seeing a huge improvement. Selfies from the Velvet are taken with the 16-megapixel front-facing cam, and in well-lit situations we really like these results. There's no autofocus, but the images come out on point if there's good enough light. Video can be recorded with the main camera in up to 4K at 30 FPS. This footage is sharp and detailed with low noise. Colors are spot on, and there's plenty of contrast. The ultra-wide cam is limited to 1080p at 30 FPS. These clips have some extra pop in terms of colors and contrast, and the quality is overall okay. Video stabilization is available on the main cam even in 4K, and the ultra-wide too. The results are nicely smooth, with walking-induced shake ironed out almost completely. There's also a Steadicam mode at 1080p at 30 FPS, which works with both cameras and gives you even more stable results. So that's the LG Velvet. You get a colorful and waterproof build that's bound to turn some heads, a decent curved OLED display, loud stereo speakers, nice selfies, and some great value with the bundled accessories. The trouble is, the extra goodies won't be coming to everyone, only for pre-orders in some markets like Europe. And the phone itself isn't cheap. It's got a price tag of 650 euros, which puts it up against flagship killers from several brands. But the Velvet is just not at that same level performance-wise or camera-wise. At this price, the phone's only really worth recommending if you're getting the dual screen for free. Otherwise, better wait for the price to go down or check out some alternatives. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe and see you on the next one.